Welcome to the Business Performance Podcast, where we feature expert thought leaders and cover their best strategies, stories, and advice that you can use to successfully mature your own business performance. Now, here is your host, business coach Henry Schneider. Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast. And today it's my pleasure to talk with Neil Gomes of Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health. He is the Chief Digital Officer and Executive VP of Technology, Innovation, and Consumer Experience. So, Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Henry. Great to be here.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
So to begin with, Neil, would you please describe for our audience what is Thomas Jefferson University and what is Jefferson Health?
All right. Well, Thomas Jefferson University is one of the first medical schools in the country. Now it's a much larger university since I joined. I joined about 5 years ago, so we were one university then, and mostly a medical professions kind of university. But 3 years ago, we merged with Philadelphia University, and now Philadelphia University is Thomas Jefferson University East Falls, and so we have about 14 colleges now. Thomas Jefferson University is also the home of the first school of population health in the U.S., so led by our dean, Dr. David Nash. The Jefferson Health is the hospital and clinic side of Thomas Jefferson University. And at Jefferson Health now, we have about 16 hospitals. When I joined 5 years ago, we were 3 hospitals. So there's been a lot of expansion of Thomas Jefferson University as well as Jefferson Health. But the thing that really excites me the most is that my teams and I get to impact the lives of about 3.2 million patients now.
Ah.
And it's a great privilege to be able to do that.
Okay, so where do you fit? So how do you fit in as a Chief Digital Officer? Is that for the Jefferson Health, or is that for the university, or how does that work?
Yeah, the Chief Digital Officer position, the one I'm in, is an enterprise position. So it goes across the university and the health system. I hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the first question here. We're thinking about quality. What's the importance of quality to the hospital and to Jefferson Health?
Oh, it's very important. In fact, recently we got a really good person in from Carillion, who is our Chief Quality Officer now. And we've always had this very strong focus on quality ever since Thomas Jefferson University came around, and the hospital system also. We are known for that. It's one of the unique features of TJU and TJUH is that we've always been very focused on quality. Some of the quality measures that we use nowadays, came about through research done at TJU, and we've always stayed true to that. In fact, my teams, even in the digital space, get engaged many times in developing quality tools, evaluating quality tools, because nowadays a lot of these solutions are digital, and we recently, for example, created an audit tool for the quality groups that are used to for things even as unique and very targeted, like the boots that we put on patients sometimes when they are hurt and in the hospital. So we're very focused on quality, that's for sure.
Okay. Now, quality is one of those big umbrella terms, and it can mean different things to different groups, different people, different industry sectors. So what does quality mean for you?
Oh, to me, it depends on what type of quality you're talking about. We are also a university, so quality education is something that we also provide, and that is very important to us too. But if you're talking from a clinical perspective and from a hospital or a clinical intervention kind of perspective, even in the outpatient units, for us, quality is not just about providing a quality medicine and a quality experience, which is very important. But it's also about providing, after you've received any kind of intervention, any kind of treatment, that you have a good quality of life. And that's very, very important to us. And that's something that we've got an even stronger focus on now, because not many hospitals and not many universities also are doing that. We focus on the time that our patients are with us, but once they leave us, we don't really look at that time of their life, right? Can they still do the things that they could do before they had something happen to them that required them to access a hospital or an outpatient clinic? And it's that kind of thing that you want to enable. You want to enable them to get back to living their lives like they were used to. And that's very, very important to us. In fact, if you can make it even better, that's even better. But at least get them to a point where they can live the way they used to. Yeah.
Okay, so when you are working with the hospital and the university, what are some of the common misconceptions when it comes to quality that people have?
So many times people see quality as this policing kind of exercise. Sometimes they feel like, well, I do my job with good intentions every day. I'm not intentionally trying to do something bad. But the thing is, quality is a well-researched field, and it's not just about doing a good job or doing a poor job. It's also about realizing that there are certain things in medicine that need to be done a certain way in order to create the best outcome for the patient. And so we try to, even through our training teams, which corporate training is also a function my group performs, and especially through digital learning, we try to get this type of understanding to our staff and our faculty as much as possible. Okay. But it is, since you asked the question about what is the most common misconception, kind of, a lot of people see quality sometimes as being this policing kind of thing that an institution does.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge that you faced or you're facing with business performance?
Oh, with business performance, yeah. Well, the biggest challenge we face is not just a performance challenge, but it's any kind of transformation or innovation challenge. And that is that many times you're coming in with a different perspective. You're coming in with different skill sets, maybe in technology. And you're kind of critically analyzing, even if you don't intend to, you're critically analyzing someone else's process that's existed for some time. And you're trying to say, hey, here's a better way of doing it. And if you don't phrase that statement well enough, you kind of upset people. Yeah. And you build a resistance against that change that you're proposing. So for us, it's a very nuanced conversation the first time we have it, no doubt. But it's still, the bottom line still is that you're proposing a change to somebody who's probably maybe even invented that process or believes in it very firmly. And be it a process, be it a solution, be it an idea. And it's very hard to unseat that, and try to bring someone around to your point of view, while also staying open to the fact that maybe that is the best way to do something, Yeah. So that is sometimes the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah, I characterize that as you're telling somebody their baby's ugly. And then they don't want to listen to you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the other thing with transformation, there's always that fear of you're eliminating my job as well. Because
that is true. Especially when you're talking about AI and machine learning, a lot of folks feel that, here comes the person who's trying to replace me, and we many times try to tell folks, look, it's not going to replace you. It's going to help you do the things that you've always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And that is, physicians many times and clinicians complain that we don't have enough time with a patient. And I want to get back to the time. And the reason why I got into medicine was so that I could understand this narrative from the patient about their health and their life, and then do something that helps them. And then technology got in the way.
Yeah.
So with all of the EMRs and all of that people are usually not so happy with, and we've become these kinds of people that just interact with the technology and not so much with the patient. Well, then machine learning and AI is going to help you interact more with the patient, because it's probably going to take you away from that computer. So that's how you try and tell people.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is
Yeah.
yeah, that's people are trying have to get overcome those fears,
Yeah.
and it's trying to foster. I would think more in human interaction than less human interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I agree.
In your position as the VP of Technology Innovation and Chief Digital Officer, what are
Yeah.
the perceived obstacles that might be preventing you from achieving the success you're trying to achieve with the university and the hospitals?
Okay. Well, the biggest obstacle to us is time, I feel, and not just in multiple ways. So sometimes it's someone else's time. It's they're doing other things. They're not sitting around waiting for you to come and transform them, right? Or change something they've been doing for many years. So uh, so getting the engagement and time sometimes can be difficult, and you can't do this on your own, right? And especially when you're trying to change healthcare. Healthcare is a very human profession, and there are lots of humans that do it. It's not a singular one-person hero kind of sport or profession. It's a mission for a lot of people, so they believe very firmly in what they do. It's also very much a team profession. You need other people in order to make something work and create a better experience for your patient. So sometimes time of the other clinicians, of the staff, is what makes it difficult. They may not have all of the time to just engage with you. Then it's also our own time. We have so many problems that come to us sometimes that it gets difficult to determine sometimes even what is better or more important for us to do than something else. And then also you have a limited amount of time yourself, based even if you have a good team, good enough team. So time from many perspectives is a problem. And then another perspective of time that is a problem is that we don't have enough time to transform healthcare. We've got to start working on it now, because every other industry has changed. And as a result, our customers, our patients' expectations have changed. They want change in the way that we deliver care. And also, in order, in some cases, to survive in this competitive environment of healthcare, we have to transform. We have to find economies. We have to be able to operate at scale. We have to be able to utilize and leverage the upcoming technologies while being safe, with our patients' lives, and but still not use that as an excuse not to change.
Okay. Could you share a story how you helped some people or groups overcome the challenge of time or not having enough time and succeed?
Yeah, so we have 12 principles that guide our team. My group that I founded here, along with our leadership here at Jefferson, especially our president and CEO, Dr. Steve Klasko, who believes a lot in what we do and has encouraged us to do what we do. I feel that we have 12 principles that guide this team. The team is called the Digital Innovation and Consumer Experience Team. These 12 principles also form our culture and is the way that we pick people to join us. And our zero principle among these, so there's really 13 principles, is that we are human and our humanity is best realized in service of others. Well, another of those principles tells us always to follow the incentive. And this is a Freakonomics statement, if you read the book Freakonomics. And what it means is that if you want to bring about change in people, in processes, you have got to follow the incentive for each of the stakeholders in that process. So you have to be able to find out what is the thing that would drive them to change what they're doing right now, and also to bring about change in other people's processes down the line, maybe. So if you understand this, then you will understand things like, oh, what's most important to a physician? Well, time. for them is very important. If you build a solution that requires them to spend more time in a day to get something done, they almost never will use it,
Mhm.
right? Because they're not sitting around waiting for you to fill out a 10-minute block that they had vacant all this time, right? They are so stressed out themselves. They have so much work to do. People talk about physician burnout a lot nowadays, and it's very true. There's lots to be done, and very few physicians that we have nowadays in healthcare in the US. So if you can save them time, if
Mhm.
your process saves them time, that's one of the best incentives we found to get clinicians to bring about a change, better than sometimes even providing monetary incentives, so time, I think, is a big, big, big incentive to bring about change. And if you can save physicians and clinicians time, you've got a winning product or a winning solution.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's the old "what's in it for me" type of.
Yeah. Yes, you have to find out what is of value to the person,
Right.
so that you can then bring that value into your solution, if possible. Not always possible, but if possible.
All right. So when you start working with the clinicians and the doctors and all, what are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that you have to be aware of as you start trying to work through their solutions?
Okay, well, one of the first, mistakes, and I'm very guilty of this many times myself, but I've trained my team to hold me back many times if I start committing this error. And the error is passion. It seems odd to say that passion can be a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that sometimes when we come up with a great idea or we realize some great insight, we want to take some action on it. We want to build a solution around it. I'm a technologist, so many times I'm thinking, oh, there's a problem I noticed there. I would love to build a solution. I devise what that solution might be. I take it to my team, and they say to me, as I've asked them to,
Mhm.
okay, what's the problem you're trying to solve, Neil? Okay, so that's very important. Then they also are very critical. They almost play the devil's advocate role, trying to beat away at what I'm suggesting, and it seems like they're attacking me sometimes. But the reason why I ask them to do that is because too often we think that we found this one holy grail of an answer to all of healthcare's problems, or even a part of it, and many times it's just in our head.
Yeah.
And so the passion that we have sometimes can hurt us, and we have to try and stay as disciplined as possible to say, okay, well, I will entertain all points of view,
Mhm.
and that is hard to do,
Sure.
because we are passionate individuals ourselves, but we've got to step back and let someone else question us a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very healthy attitude. I
Yeah.
re- Recently I had was working on a problem. I thought I came up with a very simple, and I was hesitant to say elegant solution until I presented it, and then I found out, well, I didn't consider these other human factors that made the solution not even viable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, sometimes there's a solution that already exists that you've not even researched and found out. Yeah.
Okay, so could you spend a few minutes now telling everybody little about your backstory and what defining moment inspired you to become where you are today as a chief digital officer?
Okay. Well, there are two things that always interested me since childhood. One was technology, and the other was education. And education, the source of that was because I always wanted to do something that would help other people. And my mom was a teacher for many years in a government school in India, and she taught me that there's value in giving your hours of your life to help other people, and she helped a lot of people, and she was always very happy as a result of that. She felt fulfilled in her life. So I wanted to pursue that same kind of passion. She put that into me. So I got into education early on in my career, and I applied technology to it. I was fortunate that at that time, and I had finished my MBA in India, and I was looking for work, that digital learning was becoming a reality. The internet was getting a lot faster. and companies in the US were starting to invest, universities were starting to invest. And so I helped a company called the Tata Group of Companies, which is a large Fortune 500 conglomerate out of India. I helped them realize a dream that they had of building e-learning as one of the things they did. And so in about 2 years after I joined them, we built the world's largest developer of custom e-learning applications. We became that, growing from like 30 people when I joined to about 650 people when I left 2 years later. And I only left because I really loved working there, but I left because I wanted to study the field. Remember, I was very much an educator and a pursuer of learning. Um, and so I wanted to learn more. There weren't those degrees in India, so I came to the US to study. And that's when I got involved with the University of South Florida in Tampa. I started studying my master's in education there in instructional design and technology. And then, and then they hired me, and they hired me to build an online presence for the University of South Florida in digital learning. And so that journey started in the 2002 or so. And then when I left in 2014, by that time we'd built a pretty large digital learning group, a lot of enrollments at USF in learning. And we benefited so many lives, so many students picked us. They would graduate with less debt because they could work while they were studying. They graduated faster because there were no schedule conflicts, so they could take courses that were online, so there was no overlap that they had to worry about or anything of sort. And then I left USF Maine and I joined USF Health, and that's how I got into healthcare. And I thought, what a wonderful thing, right? I mean, if you want to help somebody or help a community, the two great professions to get into are education and healthcare. Right, and so I got the chance to have my foot in both. At the University of South Florida Health, I worked on education and I worked on healthcare. And then I worked there 2 years, helped them build again an online presence for learning there, as well as I did a lot of software development in the healthcare side. And then I got hired at the university, at Thomas Jefferson University in Jefferson Health, and that got me into a place that was where I could grow really the skills that I had learned, and I could build a team of my own, which we've grown now, the Digital Innovation and Consumer Experience team. And I started out with just two people, two software developers and me, and now we've grown it into a large team, about 100 plus people. And because we do a lot of work for the institution too, apart from innovation, we manage the web, we manage content collaboration platforms. Any innovation platforms that we can get our hands on is what we usually end up managing, and many times introducing to the university. Like we are on this call right now, it's on Zoom. Well, we introduced Zoom to the entire university and health system, and now we do millions of minutes of Zoom in every month, and it's saving people on gas, it's improving sustainability, it's getting people to be educated anywhere they want to be. We even use Zoom for telehealth. So it's even helping the healthcare side and patients directly to communicate with their physicians. So, I think the impact that we can have here, the scale at which we operate at Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health is fantastic. I think it makes your life even more meaningful.
Oh, great. Thank you. So in a similar vein here, could you share an experience you had early on in your life that still influences how you approach business today?
Yeah, the one thing my mom again taught me was always to have humility and respect, for anyone, and respect not just of people, but also of the opinions that they hold, because everyone has a point of view, and that point of view is informed by experience, and you cannot trivialize that. You have to take it in context, understand what they mean, and give them the benefit of doubt, even if you feel like you are an expert in something, because you've dedicated your life to it. and then you learn way more than if you took the opposite route. And so I think that was an important lesson for me. I know it's not an anecdote as such, but it's a life lesson I learned early on in life, and that served me really well. And humility is the other one. The humility and opinion and self, even in the people you pick to interact with you. It's very important to be able to interact with people that have that same value. They don't think of themselves as too big for anyone. They always treat everyone with the same level of respect and dignities. I like that. And even the people I've chosen to work with and the people I choose to work on my teams, that is a base expectation.
So, so it's kind of going further with that. When you bring somebody on, how are you able to make that determination as you are vetting them before they join your team?
Yeah, so we have some processes that we've put into place very recently, as well as as we through experience really. We never interview people, for example, on our team one-on-one, unless we're at the last few stages of the interview and they had to meet somebody and they wanted to meet one-on-one. But typically, especially in the beginning stages, we have group interviews. And we try to have as diverse a group in that interview because we feel that many times it's very easy to put on a face kind of, or a way to behave to people when you're doing it one-on-one. It's much harder when you have to keep doing that to different people as you interact with different people in the room. And then you notice odd kinds of bias. Like once even one of the people on our side said, did you notice that the person never really even answered a single question I asked? And she was a woman, and we noticed that pattern. We asked the other team, he never spoke to the women in the room, and tried to divert any question that they asked. And he may have not even realized it. But that is not a kind of person we would probably want to have on our team. Because we respect diversity and diversity of opinion, experience, and all that. And that's very difficult sometimes to change in a person because that's something you've learned over time. And so we didn't select that person, for example. So we use techniques like that, but also our 12 principles I mentioned earlier. When people are joining our team, we expose them to all of them. And for example, one that makes people very uncomfortable sometimes is called motivation is intrinsic. And when we explain what we mean by that, sometimes some people get uncomfortable and we say, look, we cannot motivate you to be the best at what you do. We can't give you money to get you to do that. You have to intrinsically have that motivation. And those are the kinds of people we want. And when some people hear that, they say, well, I just wanted to join here so that I could do this job day in, day out. And, that's what I wanted to do. Well, at that point, we tell them, look, we are a creative team. Almost everyone that joins here has to think like an entrepreneur, has to think about how they can get better at what they're doing and how we can get better at what we are doing and be as critical as possible many times while being respectful. And if you can't do that, then this is not the right place for you. So it does help us. We have very low attrition on our teams, fortunately, and I think it's because of this principled approach we have to selecting people, some of the nuances that we have in the way we select people, and just having an ethos of some kind. Many times, some teams feel like, well, no. I'm just here doing work. Why do I have to have this credo kind of? And we believe that's very important.
Yeah, it's interesting because I worked for a consulting company many years ago, and when they brought me in, did a whole day of interviews, but I interviewed with everybody in the company individually, and then the other day I had to stand up in front of everybody and give a presentation. And wonderful vetting process because basically after I joined, I was totally compatible with everybody there. I don't know if it was just serendipity the way they had evolved this, or there was some conscious effort, but it really worked well.
Yeah. I think there was a really not a famous statement, but a really catchy line that I once heard at the beginning of an episode of this a scary TV series called Criminal Minds. I don't know if you've watched it, but I tell people that if you ever feel lonely at home, you should just watch an episode of Criminal Minds. Then you'll feel like everyone's trying to break into your home, and you won't be lonely anymore. So, or any horror film for that matter. Yeah. So, so Criminal Minds, I used to watch it before until it started getting really scary to me. And but one of them had this beautiful line, one of the episodes, and it was that an idea is a belief that the mind possesses, but a belief is an idea that possesses the mind. So yeah, it's a beautiful statement, and it's very true. Like you see great companies like Apple and Google and some of these companies that really stay in your mind, right? And they're there at the top of your mind. You feel like you're a part of them and they are a part of you. Why are they that way? Is because they tell you why they do what they do, not just what they do and how they do it. And that's them bearing kind of to you what their belief is and why they got into what they're doing. And if it is the same or similar or matches the beliefs you have, then it's very, very hard for you to, ignore them.
Right.
And they kind of bring those types of people together. And so I feel like it's very important what you did with your consulting job then, kind of bared your soul to everyone, right? And then the people that felt like, hey, he's like me, they connected with you very quickly. And so I think that's very important to do.
All right, Neil, what does success look like for you?
Oh, to me, well, see, I said before that, I feel like to achieve meaning in life, you have to try and help other people as much as you can. That's my point of view on life. And so for me, it's not so much about personal success. I feel that comes when you many times have that objective. And I see it with so many people. You look at Bill Gates right now, for example, and he's dedicated his life now to helping other people. And he did it through his life too, although, did have a part of his career where he was just focused on building this great solution that he saw in front of him in his mind. And but then he that enabled him to do so much good for the world. And the same I see in other folks, even in India, for example, like the Tata Group of companies. They help so many people out. Wipro, I've met with the CEO there, Mr. Azim Premji, and he's recently joined the Buffett Pledge and the Bill Gates Pledge. As a billionaire, to donate a lot of his fortune to helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we need more of nowadays. And not all of us are billionaires. So, we have to figure out not just to do this as a charity on the side, but how do we do it through our work? And how do we dedicate our careers, because we spend so much time in them, to actually doing something that helps other people. I think that's important. And, being in healthcare and education enables me to do that. So those are fields I feel like I would continue being in the rest of my career, unless I find something else that, enables me to have even more impact. And with digital attached to it, you can achieve scale, and that's what digital enables you to do, to create very personal experiences across digital platforms and do that at scale. Look at Google, right? I mean, look at some of these companies that have come up in the last 20 years that are using digital platforms to bring about change in the world. And even that, although they are businesses and they make money, but that is an important thing to do.
Sure, and they have to keep on that edge. The other thing is, like even like Jeff Bezos knows he's going to fail eventually.
Yeah. Yes.
He's
Yeah.
going to
Correct.
continue to innovate and keep moving forward.
Yeah. You have to keep moving forward. Yes. Yeah.
And now they're into web services, so
Yeah.
cloud services. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so Neil, what are your top three business or capability challenges or concerns for you and your team?
Yeah. So the first one I think is I get asked this question quite a lot. The first one I feel is mindset. I feel like sometimes people are too set on the way things already work, and And I think like we need to all change that mindset, including me. Even I feel strongly that way about maybe design or software development or digital learning, and I have to be open enough to accept that there are things that will always be better, and there are different ways that, we can do things. And I think that's the first. So that many times it becomes a big barrier for us when we're trying to bring about change, is that people are too set on a particular opinion about something, and they're not willing to change. Another big challenge that we face many times is resources and a paucity of that, right? I mean, we have to all operate within limited resources, constraints, and things like that. And sometimes, that can be discouraging. It can you've got this great idea and now you can't realize it. So the counter to that is patience. You have to train yourself to be patient, because if you had a great idea, it's going to help a lot of people. Then you kind of owe it to yourself to be patient and do it even within constraints that you might be faced, and that might make it take longer. So I think that's another challenge, and that is constraints and resources. But there are solutions to it, as I mentioned. And then the third thing, I feel that's a big challenge many times, and we see this all the time in the field when we're doing work, is that when you bring about or even a new technology comes about, right? It disrupts a lot of people.
Yes.
But many times as technologists, we don't take the time to understand that disruption, right? And then also give people, if there's a positive side to it, right? Even the way that let's say the example of horse carriages and taxis or cars, right? Imagine that change to the horse carriage riders. They must have, to Henry Ford, he must say, oh, I found something that's going to make a fortune for me, as well as going to revolutionize travel around the world, right? And that's what he must have felt. But sometimes you have to put yourself in the shoes of people that could be affected. And we see this right now with Uber and taxi drivers, right? Yeah. So I think we'll see a lot of change happen in this world if we understand everyone's perspective, and we're able to put ourselves in the shoes of other people. So the third challenge really is that many times we get too excited by what we're doing, and we don't spend time to tell people whose lives will be affected by this, what the trajectory is going to be, and what's the positivity behind it for themselves and for other people. I think we don't do that enough. You have to kind of draw the vision of what you see of the future, and you have to include people like that and explain to them what they're going to be doing when this change comes about. Because if you don't do that, then you won't be successful. And sometimes even if you are successful because you had the clout or whatever to be able to push the change through, you will create a lot of miserable people either in your organization or outside.
Yeah, it's always unintended consequences, because you're looking at a microcosm instead of a macrocosm.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think we're going to be running out of time here pretty quick, and I know it's late for you, so I don't want to deprive you of any sleep here. So Neil, we could thank you so much for your time tonight. I've been just enjoying hearing your different stories.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Business Performance Podcast with your business coach, Henry Schneider. For more episodes and business strategies, please visit welcome.ppqc.net/blog. That's www.welcome.ppqc.net/blog. And remember to subscribe so you can get the latest episodes. Thank you.